Hey, what's up guys? In this video, I'm going to explain why Canadians say things like Aboot and outside. Well, the simple answer to this question is, of course, they don't say these things in reality. It's kind of an auditory illusion that can sometimes trick those of us who are not native speakers of Canadian English. But they are saying something different than the rest of us, otherwise we wouldn't laugh at the Moosin in Brother Bear. But I want to be clear that the people who speak this way are actually following a well-established rule when they pronounce these words. In fact, this rule is so well studied that it even has its own name. It's called Canadian raising. Now, normally we think of rules in grammar as these really complicated things like I before E, except after C, and when rhyming with A as in neighbors and way, and on weekends and holidays and all throughout May, and you'll always get it wrong no matter what you say. It's like your English teacher just came up with all this craziness that you can never remember just to trick you. But Canadian raising is an example of a rule that you were never taught in class. And if it's a feature of your dialect, then this is a rule that you learned naturally, and you follow it without even thinking. These are the kind of rules that linguists are actually interested in. Now, I'm going to do my best to simplify things in this video, but if you get to the end and you still don't understand some of the technical stuff, go back and watch my Linguistics 101 videos on phonetics and phonology, and that will make everything a little bit more clear. So why is this rule called Canadian raising? Essentially because it has to do with vowel height. And when I say height, I'm actually talking about the physical position of your tongue in your mouth. This vowel chart represents where your tongue sits in your mouth. So we have low vowels like ah and ah, where your tongue is low in your mouth. We have high vowels like e and oo, and then there are all kinds of other vowels in between. We also have diphthongs, like ow and I, where your tongue starts off low and then moves high as you pronounce it. Now be careful, because that's not what we're talking about when we say raising in Canadian raising. But these diphthongs are going to be very important in helping us explain Canadian raising. So let's take a look at the diphthong I. When you pronounce it by itself, with no consonant following it, it's pronounced just like that. I. But it turns out we actually have a slightly different way of pronouncing this diphthong along with the normal pronunciation. That's why we get pairs like ride and right, or prize and price. I've divided this chart into two columns based on the way the vowel is pronounced. Do you hear how the vowel itself changes slightly between when I say rye, ride, rise, rhyme, and when I say right, rice, ripe, rike? That's because words in the first column are pronounced with the normal I, while words in the second column are pronounced with the slightly modified I. That wedge shape is the phonetic symbol we use for the sound, as in butt, or blood, or muggle. And if the I diphthong sounds a little bit weird to you when I say it by itself, that's because we only pronounce this diphthong under very specific circumstances, and never by itself. So you can see here that we only pronounce our diphthong this way when it's followed by a voiceless consonant, like t, s, p, k, or f. Sometimes I refer to these as whisper consonants because when you pronounce them, your vocal cords aren't vibrating, and it sounds kind of like a whisper. And if you put your hand on your throat, you won't be able to feel any of the vibrations when you pronounce these sounds. Try it. S. So that's when it's pronounced as I, and it's always pronounced as I elsewhere. You see that the column on the left has no voiceless consonants following the diphthong. So to recap, the precise vowel sound in the word ride is different than the vowel sound in the word right, and it's only because of the different consonants that follow the diphthong. So what does this have to do with the word about? Everything. It turns out that many Canadians also apply this rule to the ow diphthong. So they have one more rule to follow than we do. And while Americans change I to I before voiceless consonants, Canadians do that, and they change ow to o before voiceless consonants. So they pronounce the word cloud the same way we do, but clout with a different diphthong because it ends with a voiceless consonant. So they end up pronouncing it as something like cloat. And that's hard for me to even pronounce because I am not a native speaker. Lousy is pronounced the same in both countries, but louse will be pronounced as louse if you follow this rule, and louse if you don't. Same with rouse and grouse, bowed and bout, mouser and mouse, housing and house. I pronounce all these words with the same diphthong, but many Canadians would not. So if Canadians are actually saying about, why does it sound like they're saying Aboot or Aboot? If you're asking that question, then it probably means that, like me, your dialect does not have the O diphthong. Our brains are really good at deciphering auditory signals and making sense of them. So when we hear a sound that we weren't expecting to hear because it doesn't exist in our native language, something doesn't compute, and our brain interprets it as the next closest thing. In this case, that would be the O diphthong, or the OO vowel, if you really want to exaggerate it. So I hope that helped shed a little bit of light on Canadian raising and why perceptions can be deceiving. If you liked the video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up, and if you want more videos on languages and linguistics, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.